Be okay with not having it all together. Everything that you went through was necessary. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to It Was Necessary podcast. I am your host, Avanti ADIZAHYR. And on today's episode, I will be sharing my beautiful love story. I hope you guys are ready. Buckle your seatbelts, grab your popcorn. You may need some sunglasses because the shade will be real. Love story, right? Yeah. I'm probably going to dive deep into how I am such a hopeless romantic, you guys. The title of this episode will probably be comical to you as well by the time the episode is over. But pretty much just sharing how I am such a hopeless romantic that it has created such unsuccessful relationships. They just haven't been successful. So yeah, we'll be jumping right into that, and of course, give you all a reference as far as music, as this season is all about when music transcends. So giving you all a reference of a song that kind of, I play it honestly every time I have a failed relationship or a failed attempt at a relationship. I kind of play the song because it's just, she speaks. We'll just say that. So, a little backstory. Got married really young, got divorced really young. That should probably tell a lot, sum it up in a nutshell. But I feel like if I knew then what I know now, I definitely would have waited to pretty much learn myself a lot more. Figure out what I want for real. And also being able to learn myself to a point where I actually gravitate the right person when I'm supposed to. But in all, I got a beautiful, beautiful set of handsome boys that were just the best thing ever in my life that came out of that. So still, I'm appreciative. So, all things, don't end well, but end well, if that makes sense. So yeah, I've pretty much been a hopeless romantic for a while. Probably forever now, as I look back on it. I just love love, you guys. I love love. Love is beautiful when it's right and when it's with the right person. Love can go through all ships, not just relationship, not just romantic relationships, friendships as well. Love is love. But I believe wholeheartedly in it, and it has gotten me to places where I again had to reevaluate and ask myself, why am I continuing to not have successful relationships, I guess you can say. So I look back on trying to understand what the cons or pros of being a hopeless romantic is, and the cons, or what I feel like most people, or myself, I'm just going to speak for myself. I feel like a lot of times when we are hopeless romantics, it's somewhat of a coping with anxious attachments, which basically goes hand in hand with a fear of abandonment. So having that fear of, not wanting to be alone, not wanting to grow old alone, wanting to have a companion, wanting to be with someone, you do crazy things. Like when you sit back and think about it, you're like, what was I thinking? Where was my mind? So I'm pretty sure a lot of our hopeless romanticness, I guess you can say, tips off of that, of you wanting things or having issues or trauma from abandonment, or having those abandonment issues, not addressing those issues. So you tend to sometimes put yourself in relationships or encounters where they're not healthy. They're not good for you. And you just try to figure out what to do next. So, a con with being a hopeless romantic is giving your heart so freely is something that comes with risk, a lot of risk. Like just out here handing out your heart like it's just not valuable. It comes with a lot of risks, a lot of letdowns, a lot of setbacks, and especially if you often choose partners who don't give the same level of love and respect in return. That's the biggest thing. A lot of people speak on their love and efforts being reciprocated, as you should. Like we will all want, what we give back in some way. Not necessarily the same way you do it, because everybody is not you. You're gonna kind of give differently than somebody giving something back to you. So I always love to speak towards being a giver more than a taker. I will hope most of us have that dignity about ourselves. But just being more outpouring of love and appreciation for whomever you feel deserves it. And with that, sometimes we can give it to people that don't deserve it. Being a hopeless romantic, that will probably be another con. So going from that and pulling back the layer of trying to furthermore dissect, well, why is it that I give so freely? One, I just believe that it's just me. I've always been a giver of anything that I could give. I feel like even if I just try not to, even though I do it for people that don't necessarily deserve it, it's just a part of who I am. I'm kind, I'm caring, I'm very considerate, I'm very thoughtful. So I always wanted to be that outpour and being that support, but also sometimes that not being reciprocated can kind of make you feel like you kind of look crazy at the end of the day. You look crazy. So having to kind of scale back and pull back just a bit, not necessarily cutting it off, but just learning to be a little bit more discerning of who is giving the equal, or not even the equal, because a lot of relationships, I say all, are never 50-50. You're always going to go in it at some type of percentage, and the other person is probably going to come in at a higher or lower percentage. I don't necessarily believe that relationships are equal, although they should be. But I feel like it should be equal together. Like you all should form to become one together, to give that 100%. But it's never a 50-50 thing. It's never I give this, you give that equal amount. No, you're going to have an 80-20 split. It just depends on the day. Some people, some person, like depending on the day, you may be the 80 and the companion may be the 82. And vice versa. They'll be the 21 day, you could be the 80. Vice versa. But just finding that that level of maturity and grace with figuring out what and who deserves your giving of your heart. Just don't be out here giving it away like I did, y'all. I probably spent my entire 20s and early 30s. I'm not even gonna cap. Early 30s as well. I'm just getting it. So don't feel like you off track. I'm just getting it. So the entire 20s, early 30s, just reckless out here. Just reckless. Just gonna be honest. And not caring about how I looked or how I was received or perceived at that, with being so open to outpouring my love and affection to people that just honestly, why are we doing this? So that was a con with me, I kind of discovered with being a hopeless romantic. But there are some pros. There are a lot of pros. So don't feel like just because you're a hopeless romantic or you fall so easily, you fall so quickly, you just, oh my God, I'm just so naive to this whole whatever. Not the case. And also, just a note, if you are not sure what a hopeless romantic is, or you just don't know if it's you, Of course, I looked it up just so I can be, you know, direct. It says a hopeless romantic has a larger heart than others, being more prone to a broken heart than the regular person. They are in love with the idea of being loved and loved back. They are not made for today's standards as they believe in the little things about true love, fairy tales, and chivalry, and truly believe that there is only one person out there for them. They get attached quickly, but they are genuinely the best boyfriend or girlfriend you could ever have. They are loving, caring people who give their 100%, expecting full return. They often dream of who they will spend the rest of their life with and romanticizing about the two of them would do together. They dream to be romanced with sweet, simple things and thoughtful surprises and just want someone to care for them and hold them and tell them everything will be okay. It's like the new book. They have their tuffles, but it's like what? I guess everybody referenced that book. I'm sure. I mean, book and movie. I'm sure there's a lot of other books out there, movies out there that just like over the hill. Oh my God, I'm so in love. I'm crazy. But yeah. If you don't know, if that describes you, you're basically a hopeless romantic. Just don't be silly, like I was, or most people are. Be mindful. Pick and choose your battles. Pick and choose your battles, please. But so you won't be heartbroken or feel like you're heartbroken or feel like you've been played or feel like somebody playing in your face. The list goes on. You want to make sure that you're, standing your ground. You can love, you can fall deep. Just be mindful of how far and steep you go. But yes, just a pro of being a hopeless romantic. You embrace vulnerability. You appreciate the little things. You value emotional connections, living with passion. You embrace the process. You embrace the unknown. You find joy in solitude, cultivating resilience, and you foster creativity. You are boundless beyond hope. So those are the pros. You have some pros out there. So if you are someone who is just genuinely caring like I am, you just genuinely love like I do, don't feel bad. Be mindful though, but don't feel bad. But also dissect with that where it stems from. So you don't have those instances where you're just being reckless or feel like you're constantly failing at relationships. Sometimes it is something that's a bit deeper. Sometimes it is some type of trauma bond or some type of thing that you've gone through that drives you into being that way. It's almost as if you're seeking for something that you didn't get, seeking something that you lack. Maybe dealing with an insecurity. It's just certain things that you have to scale back and kind of ask yourself again. The purpose of It Was Necessary podcast. What is this trying to teach me? Why is it happening so constantly all the time? What am I missing? And that kind of was what threw up the flag for me to kind of step back and be like, hey, why do you love and outlove and pour out love so much like you do? What's the reasoning, the real reasoning? I mean, we have the surface reason because we want it. That's what we want. A lot of us go out and say, well, we do things or we act a certain way because we want to get it in return. Makes sense. But also a lot of times too, when it's not effective and it's constantly not effective, you got to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, so why is it that way? So just doing, some soul searching and trying to figure out, where did it start and why is it not effective? So, of course, like I say, I'm very vocal on growing up without a father, always wanting some type of male appreciation or acceptance. So, constantly going to try to seek that. Again, not having the boundaries that I spoke in on back to the basics, not having a lot of the things that probably would have protected me from the constant heartbreak and failed relationships. Not being knowledgeable or having the discernment to decipher who really for me, who not, who playing in my face, who not. Not having none of that can kind of drive you into the constant revolving door of not having the right relationship or meeting people that you know are just not good. Like, you know, these people ain't good. They not good. And we ain't gonna act like they good. We're not gonna continue to make excuses. We're not gonna do any of that. So you have to, at some point, address personal traumas or issues that you think or feel may be the root to the cause of why those relationships have not worked and why they just seem to not work. A lot of times it's not the other person. A lot of times it's self. We have to do self checks. So although there are beautiful pros to being a hopeless romantic, there are also cons, and we just have to be, aware of those and be very self-aware of ourselves and what we want in return. So go out here and love. Don't feel like failing at it. Don't do any of that. My resource, what my resource would be. I don't really have a resource as far as a book or a tool goes. The resource is really this song, y'all. And like I said, this season is all about when music transcends. So every episode for season 1 would definitely reference a song and pretty much a backstory to why it relates to anything that I've gone through, anything that was necessary for me to go through. So the song reference is actually Denise Williams. She is one of my absolute faves. And Silly of Me song. You guys, I play this song every time. I feel like my heart got broken. And I just be like, it's just silly of me. Like, what was I thinking? My intentions are always there. I never go out here and just date to play with people. I don't have time. Too old for that. And I would think that we would be grown to date with intentions, but apparently that doesn't seem to be the case these days. But I date with intention. I date to pursue something long term. I'm not going to go, if I don't feel like it's not going to go anywhere, I'm not going to waste your time, let alone waste mine. So every time something just does not work as far as a date, relationship, seeing where something goes with somebody, I play this song because I'm just like, why they waste my time? Why they play with me? If they knew I was not what they wanted, why they just can't say that? I know it's a lot of women out there, or men, we're not going to exclude and base it just solely on gender. But I'm sorry. But I'm sure there are a lot of women, or I could just speak for myself, but I'm sure it's a couple of them. I like the truth. I am not one that cannot handle it. Okay? Tell me I ain't it for you. Just off rip. I don't have time. I don't have time. You don't have time. You can be pursuing someone else who actually is right for you. Why are you playing in my face? So I am all for you telling me up front, off rip, hey, you were cool, but you just not the one for me. And I would be like, thank you so much. Instead of you prolonging it, making me believe that it's something that is not. But again, this goes back into self-reflecting, self-awareness. We also have to pay attention, selves. Pay attention to the behavior, the language, and also when people do not keep their word. That's one thing that's big for me. Do not tell me that you're going to do something and you don't do it. Because I'm going to look at you kind of funny. And I can't do it. Can't keep your word. It's just a no. So it's also goes back to me. Although I feel like they just trampled my heart, they let me down. They said all these sweet nothings. Some even proved those sweet nothings. Some of them even stepped up to those sweet nothings. They definitely, they always say when the words and the actions don't align. A lot of them are really good at aligning them. So it goes back to self. You have to, what girls say, verify. Verify. So I like truths. I don't like to waste time. That is something that I cannot get back. I can replace a lot of things. I can get back a lot of things, but we cannot get back our time. If a woman or a man is not for you, please let them know expeditiously. I'm taking T.I.'s word for the day. Let them know off rip. And if the girl can't handle the truth, if the man can't handle the truth, try to explain it and communicate it as clearly as possible. But don't waste their time. The only thing at the end of the day, they can't be upset at your honesty. They just have to be upset with themselves. And they can deal with that on their own terms. But I promise, the longer you prolong it and act like y'all gonna get married in 5, whatever, 3, 4 years, and you know in the back of your mind that they're not it, it just makes matters worse. But my song reference is Denise Williams' "Silly of Me" because you just got to listen to the song. And it kind of explains it. I'm a lyric girl. Again, I write and I sing, and I'm a lyric girl. So that's really the first thing I listen to. Believe it or not, I can probably do without the beat or the music. Any song, I'm listening to lyrics immediately. I'm not the music. The lyrics grab me first, which is a lot of people is opposite. Like the music has to bring them in. I need you to bring me in with some lyrics. But her lyrics were key. And every time I just feel like my heart got broken, they played with me. Although I had all good intentions, I always have pure intentions. Always. Any encounter I go into, it's intentional. Trust me. I don't just play with people like that at all. But listen to the song, you guys. I love the song. I love Denise Williams. I love all of her music. Hopefully I get to meet her one day. Throwing that out there into the atmosphere. But "Silly of Me," I love it. And y'all just gotta go listen to it. Just go listen to it. You'll love it too. I'm pretty sure. But you guys, that's pretty much the sum of this episode. Takeaways for this episode, because I always want to bring it back to what is necessary. What was necessary for me when it comes to being silly in love? Again, my boundaries. I had to learn them. And if you have listened to this podcast and even the first episode, don't wait until you're my age to discover boundaries. It would save you a lot of heartache. But it was necessary for me to learn myself, create my boundaries, still remain a hopeless romantic, but be smart about it. And also learn what was behind the reason of me being a hopeless romantic, healing that abandonment issue, learning about my fear of abandonment, which is ultimately the coping mechanism for a hopeless romantic. For some it's totally different. But I know for me, doing the work, doing the self-work and the healing work, and learning why I do certain things when it pertains to different life issues or traumas, I can definitely acknowledge that my fear of abandonment or my abandonment period, my attachment styles was the cause of me being a hopeless romantic. But that doesn't mean I'm going to change it. I'm just going to be a little bit more smarter with it. Okay? Because again, like I said, there are positive sides of being a hopeless romantic. Just because you out here loving and somebody did you wrong, don't mean you got to stop loving. You love the same exact way you love that wrong person. Because I promise you, the right one will come and appreciate it. And not only appreciate it, they will give it back to you times 10. They pretty much will make up for all the bad seeds. Okay? So keep that in the forefront, you guys. It's a positive, it's a pro and a con to it all, but don't give up on it. Don't become cold-hearted. Don't throw love out because it's just been so horrible. Keep loving people the way you've been loving them, but be smart about it. Ask God for discernment. Ask Him to guide you for any choices that you make because it's necessary. Okay. It's necessary across the board. But again, I thank you guys so very much. So very much for tuning in. Again, the reference song is Silly of Me by Denise Williams. Go listen to it. Put it on repeat like I do when I get my heart broken. But I ain't getting my heart broken no more. My heart is just, it's too big to break. And I'm going to keep loving. But I would like to thank you for taking the time out of your life to listen to this episode and allowing me to share my world. As always, be okay with not having it all together while striving to become a better version of yourself. Whatever you're going through or whatever you've been through, remember, it is and it was necessary. I love you. Peace out. Have a good one. Be okay with not having it all together. Everything that you went through was necessary.